very good morning to you and welcome to the show with myself, Nafisa Dango, encouraging you into better spaces through, of course, relative topics that we encounter in our everyday lives and try to change it by educating you to move yourself into a positive space as opposed to a negative one. And talking about that, we're going to be chatting to a phenomenal lady, Antoinette Harvie, who's from the Red Balloon Foundation. And she's going to be talking to us about neurological rehabilitation. A very good morning and a warm welcome to you. And thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Hi, Antoinette. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure having you on the show this morning. A very warm welcome to you. We really appreciate you taking out the time and effort to join us on the show this morning. I think to educate us about a pertinent topic that many a times, should we say, gets just put under the carpet and people are not educated about the situation and how to communicate better. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much for having me talk to you today and to tell you all about our foundation and what we do.
Yeah, but before we step into that, let's talk about your experience because your experience, your personal experience, had actually enticed you into starting the Red Balloon Foundation due to the fact that your son Maxime had a neurological condition. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, that's correct. So my son was born at 38 weeks. He had an undetected in utero infection, which caused brain damage before he was born. So by the time that he was born, it had already happened. And we were told quite early on, like when he was a few days old, that he would have cerebral palsy and that he could also have vision problems related to his brain and that he might be considered blind, but that they had to look at that at a later stage. So we knew quite early on that there was going to be a problem. And from the start, we wanted to find ways that we could help him to have the best life that he could possibly have. So we immediately started researching what would this mean, what would life look like for him, and what could we expect, and what could we possibly do to make it a little bit easier.
Right. And I think that's important because many a times parents that are in situations like that tend to get stuck in their space and they don't know actually where to start as far as the situation is concerned. And what I found very phenomenal about your story was that you didn't stop there. You actually went out to look for different options where you then came across a particular way of having to deal with it, which is the Anat Baniel method of neuro movement. And I think that's amazing because you went to the USA and you had a look at these different types of options to see how you can help your particular child in that situation, but also others that find themselves in that same space.
Yes, that's correct. We were very lucky to find out about this method very early on. And we took our son to Ireland the first time because there were no practitioners in South Africa at the time. And we took him over to Ireland, saw a therapist there, and he had sessions and he just responded so well. And we saw so many positive changes. He was still little, he was only 4 months old at that point, but he really loved the sessions. We could see him kind of light up in the sessions and we wanted to continue that. So after joining some other families to bring practitioners out to South Africa, I finally decided to do the training. And initially it was really just to help our son. I just wanted to know that I would be able to work with him and help him
Yes.
on an ongoing basis, because cerebral palsy there's no quick fix. There's nothing that's just quickly going to do once off and then your child will, be cured. There's no cure. So it's an ongoing process. And then through doing the training in the States, it just kind of grew into having to help other children as well, as I learned more about this amazing method and how through the brain's plasticity, we can actually help these children to have a much better life.
Let's make people understand this better, Antoinette. Explain the method to us and what it is that parents have to do in order to help their children in the situation as far as the method is concerned.
Yes, so it is a science-based approach, it's very gentle. It uses movement to wake up the brain. So it's still a hands-on approach where we use movement as the language of the brain. to give information and to create new neural connections. And then areas in the brain that are not affected, that did not get damaged, can take over the functions of areas that are damaged. So we work with what we call the 9 essentials. So just to mention a few, for instance, working very slowly, providing a lot of variations to the brain, having flexible goals. So moving with where the child currently is. So not looking at what their age is and what they should be able to do at the moment, but looking at where they are and what they can do and how we can build on that to help them to get to the next level. And this is all done through movement. And when we're working with the parents through our workshops and our coaching, we're really helping them to understand how they can create an environment through their everyday activities with their child to learn during those activities to be able to do new functions, and so that they're connecting with their child and not just trying to fix. So at all times, it's about connecting with the child where they currently are, and then helping them to get to the next level through implementing these 9 essentials of the work.
I think that's phenomenal, because at the end of the day, what it does is, and this is what is important, is the connection and the communication. Many parents find themselves in the situation where that is not what is happening to children that are in these types of, should we say, situations. And this particular method, as we know, doesn't only just help children with cerebral palsy, but with autism and ADHD, and as well kids that have genetic disorders and brain injury. So I think it's such a phenomenal method, because it allows you to reach out to many kids that find themselves in difficult situations like these.
Yes, exactly. So we're basically working with the brain. So anything that affects the brain, any type of neurological condition, we're really helping the brain to do its job better. So for all of us, we get information in, and we have to be able to process that information and respond appropriately, be that through movement, emotion, a cognitive response, whatever it is. The brain is managing that. So that is where our focus lies. So instead of focusing on the body and what it's more of a symptom of the brain damage is what it looks like, we're focusing on the brain and how we can help the brain to do its job better, to better use the information that's coming in and be able to do something with that information, which could be, like I say, it can be an emotional response, it can be cognitive response, it can be a physical response, whatever that looks like at that point.
Yes, and I think that's a better approach, because, I mean, as you were saying, I mean, the brain is one of the biggest organs, the main function of our system. And if we can understand that better, then we can help kids in that situation move into a better space. So let's just go for a quick break, and then we'll join you shortly.
Thank you.
Of families in the surrounding areas of Port Elizabeth. Help us strategize. Support our water drive in the Eastern Cape region of South Africa. Donate your lilla towards the erecting of JoJo tanks in impoverished areas and for the vehicles to deliver water in areas of need. Donate to the Al-Fida Foundation. Visit our website at www.alfida.co.za or contact us at 041 484 1288.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Add a sprinkling of sparkles to your magical parties and special occasions with colorful party supplies and decorations to a wide range of baking goods and tools. Packaging from gift bags to meat bags, foil and polystyrene containers, elegant serviettes and intimate candles to disposable wet wipes. A range of glassware, bakeware and stunning wedding accessories just for you. Wholesale packaging available. Sprinkles and Sparkles Party Shop. You'll want it all. Find us at 431 Inanda Road, Parlock, Durban. Call 031 577 0604. Our operating hours are weekdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., weekends and public holidays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Follow us on Instagram at Spring and Spark.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Famine, conflict, and severe economic decline make the humanitarian crisis in Yemen the worst in the world. More than 20 million Yemenis do not know where their next meal is coming from, and over 10 million are suffering extreme levels of hunger. With your support, the Al Imdad Foundation delivers essential food aid to starving Yemeni communities. It's a question of survival. So let's do what's right. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Listen to some.
Welcome back. And if you've joined us, we're in conversation with Antoinette Harvie, and we're talking about the Red Balloon Foundation and the phenomenal work that they've been doing to help children with cerebral palsy through a particular method. Welcome back to the show. And, before we left, we were talking about the method, and I think it's absolutely pertinent for people to understand what it has been doing for these kids. But let's get into the Red Balloon Foundation. I think it's phenomenal to see that you've become such a selfless humanitarian in the sense that you've taken your experience and not just stopped there. A lot of people find themselves in a situation where you lose, and I'm going to say it just the way it is. When you lose a child, you lose your lifeline, because literally that's what it is. Your life changes forever. And it's not something that you overcome. It's something you learn to deal with. So I want to commend you on being so brave, because I don't think it's one of the easiest things to be able to deal with. But I think where I really found it uplifting, and should we say inspirational to myself, was the fact that you've taken your life experience and used it to help others that are in, of course, the same situation that you were in.
Yes, thank you very much. It's really important to me. So our son passed away just before his third birthday on the 1st of September, 2016. And it was actually just about a month before I completed my final training to be able to start working with children. And it was a very big shock. He wasn't sick, so it came as a very unexpected event, and it really affected us in a big way. But we decided that I would continue my training to be able to help other children. I felt that he had a purpose, and he came into our lives to come and change us, teach us about things that we knew nothing about. And that, I would continue my training to start helping other children. And then a year later, on what would have been his fourth birthday, in 2017, on the 3rd of October, we launched the Red Balloon Foundation, which all of the funds that we then raise go towards children receiving neurological rehabilitation. And, it's very close to my heart. I care so much for the children that we work with, and it's ongoing. So we have to keep going and raise funds so that we can continue helping these children also build and be able to help more children.
I find it so phenomenal, that you've already hosted 836 one-on-one neurological rehab sessions, 9 workshops, and of course aided 48 parents and caregivers with coaching. So it goes to show that you are reaching out there to those that are in a situation and helping them find themselves in a better space with where they were before.
Yes, so all of our beneficiaries are families that would not be able to afford therapy. So in general, these families would travel to a government hospital once a month, and they would receive if they're lucky, half an hour of therapy with all of the therapists at once. So a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, and they just get half an hour and then get sent home to try and do all of these exercises at home. So these are the families that we're trying to help, so that we bring the children in and they get intensive therapy. So they come for a whole week, they get 2 sessions a day, we coach the parents, we have separate workshops, and we're then able to send them home with a better idea of what is possible for their children when they create the right environment. And then we see them again in a few months and we continue where we had stopped. So it's really for families that wouldn't even be able to get therapy in general.
And I agree with you there, because the thing is, as you were saying, getting half an hour of therapy is not going to, of course, be enough for that particular child. And this is where you coming in and giving them that extra attention and the proper way through that method for them to understand how to deal with the child and put the child, of course, in a better space and understand the way the child thinks as well. So, Antoinette, I think that's absolutely amazing. We know that throughout this month leading up to Maxime's birthday, the Red Balloon Foundation will be highlighting the stories of each of the warrior children undergoing rehabilitation, which I think is important because, once these reality stories go out there and people, start shedding light on it and you make people understand what it is that they're going through, I think it's starting to bridge that gap of communication. And I think it's so important because many times I say, with kids with disabilities and families that have kids with disabilities, what happens is inevitably they tend to be, should we say, cocoon from society. Reason being is because people are not understanding how to communicate, and I think that's important. Is we need to start, of course, creating the awareness and educating people about it.
Yes, exactly. These families are often very isolated. I think that, it's very hard for them to sometimes travel with their children with disabilities. They have to use public transport and trying to get in and out of public transport with wheelchairs. It's very hard. So a lot of times they'll just stay home and they won't, we don't have a lot of inclusive schools. So other children don't also really get to interact with children with disabilities. So there's a lot of awareness that needs to be raised about, that this physical disability is also not it doesn't really tell us what this child is capable of. That when we take the time to communicate with the child and we understand how they're trying to communicate back, it might not be verbal, it could be in other ways, that they most of the time understand everything that we're saying. They're able to follow the instructions. They're just not able to respond in the way that we expect them to respond. And as we raise more awareness about this, we're hoping that more people will be able to connect with these children and be able to understand that they're in there and they just need someone to connect with them.
Would you say, and I think it's so important to understand that you have been, should we say, the starter up a role model for people in situations like this. Where to from here?
So I think it's very important for parents to do a lot of research when they find out that their child has any type of diagnosis, be it not only cerebral palsy, any neurological diagnosis, or even genetic. There are so many alternative therapies, or what are considered alternative therapies, that can have a really big impact on the child's life. And that the most important thing is to connect with your child and to move away from a place where you feel that you need to fix them, but to find a place where you are connected with your child and who they are and where they are and how you can just make their life the best that it can be through whichever therapy you find that they respond the best to. Yes. And that looks different for every child. Every brain injury is different, and every child responds differently. So it's one of those things where we really feel that we shouldn't just throw everything in the kitchen sink at it and try and fix everything. We have to just find a way where the child can have the best life possible.
Sure. And, as we were talking about awareness, do you see the Red Balloon Foundation going on to different campaigns and creating that awareness? Because, I think from, should we say, government level, there hasn't been enough attention given to this particular subject.
Yes, exactly. So we have quite a few focus points. So our one being the ABM neuro movement, one-on-one sessions and parent and caregiver training and coaching. And then we also work with cortical visual impairment, which is where it's mostly children who have had brain injuries that their eyes work perfectly, but the brain is not able to interpret what they're seeing. And through the correct interventions, we can actually teach these children to see.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of experts in South Africa in this field. And so one of our goals, and we've been able to bring out some experts from Canada, and then they come and they work also with therapists and doctors. For instance, we've done some workshops at the Joburg Gym to help them to see how we can implement these strategies to help the children to learn to see. And they can actually move through these phases of being able to see all the way from being diagnosed as blind to eventually being able to read and communicate via devices. So we spend a lot of time on that as well. And up to now, our foundation has been quite small, even though we've been able to help quite a few children. We are now spending a lot of time on trying to raise more awareness and be able to grow the foundation so that we can do more of these workshops, bring out more experts in these different fields, and be able to coach and train more therapists as well.
I like that vision because that's the whole idea, is about creating that awareness and making people around and societies understand the situation. And once we do that, then normal society will also be able to understand how to actually, should we say, give that little bit of an extra helping hand to those that are in those situations by bridging that gap of communication. And then, of course, taking away that, as I said earlier, that cocoon that we're finding these particular families in, where they can integrate into society.
Yes, definitely. That is a big vision for us.
Okay. I wish you nothing but the best with that. What message would you like to leave us with this morning?
I would just like to say thank you very much, firstly, for having me on the show and letting me share what we're all about. And if there is anyone that wants to support our cause, they can go to our website, which is the redballoonfoundation.org.za, where they'll find all of our initiatives that we're running, and they can learn more about the children. They can find the link to our Facebook page, where we'll be sharing all the stories of the children that we work with and their progress. And, they'll be able to help us in that way.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this morning. It's been a very inspirational discussion, and I think it's shed light on a matter where we ourselves need to go and educate ourselves about the situation. So thank you so much. Take care, and we wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Antoinette
Goodbye.
Harvie talking to us about, of course, children with neurological disabilities and how we can deal with that, and the phenomenal methods that they've learned from, the passing away of their son, then going overseas and learning these methods and bringing it. But of course, opening up the Rand Balloon Foundation and using this method to help other children, I think that's a phenomenal thing. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in a minute.